I think to me, this draft is intriguing at the wide receiver position, even into the third and fourth rounds. I don't have projected draft capital for many of the other wide receivers because those sites usually only go up to 2 rounds. As we get more multi-round drafts, we'll probably see more of that. But who are a couple guys that you think might go in like the third round or even later that you're still excited about, Wiz? And this is just, let's get some fun names that we really like and we're really hopeful for out there on the pod, and then see how it shakes out as they fall.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, just one of the names that you did just mention there, who really hasn't gone in the top 64 too much, but I honestly would not be surprised if he snuck in there come draft night, is Jermaine Burton. He's actually one of my more favorite wide receivers in this class. Been getting a lot of buzz recently as well. Graded out really nicely in the UN score for us too. That you guys will see here in a couple weeks, but. If he fell to the third, he would absolutely be somebody that, as a third rounder, that he would probably be one of the people that I'd be most high on. Some other interesting names, again, kind of landing spot dependent. Is this where if San Francisco, right, like we talked about in the first round, if they don't, address it there, do they take a shot on somebody like a Malachi Corley come third round or something like that, right? And, because what I think the Niners should do is they should keep Ayuk and they should look to move off of Debo just because I worry
Agreed.
about how his game is going to age, right? Whereas
Agreed.
like it just seems like he's going to age better. He's a more refined route runner. But I also know the value of like what Debo brings to that offense, right? So like maybe bring in a guy like Malachi to potentially be that Debo replacement. I hate saying that because there really is no other Debo, but like if you're trying to think about life after Debo, I think that's a really interesting guy to do so. And then some of the other guys, Trav, I think after that second round group that we were talking about, really there's probably a couple more for me, but Malik Washington, may end up being like a fourth round guy, fifth round guy. But really just because of his size and his production profile the first few years wasn't great, but as soon as he transferred to Virginia, just absolutely balled out, right? And he's a kind of a thicker Tank Dell, right? He's kind of
Yeah.
in that same sort of height, but he's much thicker. Really can make guys miss. I think had the second best missed tackles forced per reception in the class, only to Malik Neighbors. Over 3 yards per route run this year. So he's definitely one of my more favorite ones. And then just kind of one more here, Trav, is Jamari Thrash, right? I think
Love it.
he's a guy that like he's pretty polished. I think he's going to be a pro for a while. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be like an elite fantasy producer or like anything like that. That's kind of not what I'm saying. But I think like, look, maybe he's like a wide receiver 3 with the right opportunity where he can turn into a low end 2. I just think he's going to be a pro for a while. And, looking at some of these wide receivers and their ability to run routes, I think Thrash is kind of one of my favorites. Who you got after the second round?
I love the guys that you threw out there. I have to be honest, Wiz, when I think it was you or maybe one of my other group chats informed me that Jamari Thrash is not related to former Eagles wide receiver James Thrash. I was a little bit devastated,
Yeah.
there because I totally thought there was that. I like what you said about Thrash though, and the reason why I like that is because he is definitely an outside wide receiver and he can win on the outside. And I think at the range of the draft that he's going, he
Yep.
might be one of those few guys that is that outside, put him out there and let him run wide receivers. And so I think he might be unique within the range of the draft that he falls in at, where a team
Yeah.
might be happy to get that outside wide receiver if they missed on these other guys. Malik Washington, another one of my favorites too. Slot demon, thick with 3 C's, as you mentioned.
Like that.
Another guy similar-ish is Jacob Cowing. Really
Yeah.
like him as a slot guy as well. He played a little bit more on the outside than did Malik Washington, similar to Lad McConkey, around 30% over the last 2 seasons. But I think both guys can put in work after the catch. I think Washington led the class in yards after the catch last season. So for 2023, don't quote me on that. Go look it up on PFF, of course. But I think he was at the very least up there, more than 7 yards after the catch per reception this season. So really, really like those guys as some slot guys. A couple other guys who I think could be more versatile is the other 2 Washington guys, Jalen Polk.
Yep.
Again, like in his range, I think there's going to be fewer inside outside versatile players. And he's been in that high powered offense where he got to soak up some work and had a really nice 2023. But then his running mate, Jalen McMillan, might actually be the
Yep.
better wide receiver. Wiz, like he was mainly in the slot over the past 2 years, and he was en route to having a good 2023 before he got hurt and missed some time. He had a massive 2022. So I think
Yeah.
Jalen McMillan can be that slot receiver who has taken volume, been in a high powered offense, and kind of come into an NFL team while still being like a third, fourth, maybe fifth round pick or something like that, having a
Yep.
little bit of polish to his game just because of his experience. So those are some guys I like.